And just like that, we're back at Drew's Motorworks. So I'm giving you guys a little bit of a breakdown video today, guys. I kind of jumped the gun on this project a little bit. I did pick up this LS Gen 3 motor. I wanted to film the entire thing. I picked it up as like a semi-complete block, essentially a short block that has run on. But my plan was to film the entirety of the teardown, as well as, you know, continuing the cleaning process, ordering parts, rebuilding and everything. I picked this motor up about, I would say 4 or 5 days ago, and I've put a total of maybe a little over 6 hours worth of work into kind of tearing it down. And we're here now, you know. We have a completely torn down block. We have all the accessories out. When I was tearing it down, like I said, it didn't have the heads on it. Those came to the side, but it did have all the, you know, the crank, the cam, pistons, lifters, trays, a bunch of, you know, the front stuff like the oil pump, front and rear main seals, the front seal cover, a couple other things. And yeah, I've taken all that stuff out. So we're down to just the block. And over here, you guys might not be able to see this on this table, but you know, that's kind of how this build's going. I have all my heads. I have my heads, the valves, springs, rocker arms are still in it. I have my intake pulled here, my fuel rails, coil packs, so on and so forth. So it also had the oil pan, the timing setup, the oil pickup, everything like that still on the block. So like I said, kind of a short block, kind of not, depends on how you look at it. And as I was kind of disassembling this block, bringing out all the internal pieces like the pistons, the cam, the crank, so on and so forth, I've been inspecting everything little by little, making sure that there wasn't any super bad wear in the process. Everything looks pretty good though. So kind of wanted to, you know, give you guys sort of like a little breakdown video and explain kind of where my head's at with this build. So the journey of an LS. Now, for those of you who don't know, I do have a 1973 Chevelle coupe. It was my grandpa's before he passed away, and it kind of went to my dad. He passed it on to me. It runs, it drives. You know, it's a relic of a car. There's a lot of stuff that needs to get done. And then I started getting into the world of the LS. I have a buddy of mine that has an LS built Silverado. It's a 6.0. Well, I actually punched out to a 6.2 with a turbo on it. So I actually helped him rebuild his, get it up and running, and it made me kind of realize like, wow, these things really aren't that hard to work on. And once I kind of realized that, you know, you hear a bunch about, oh, let's put an LS in this, let's LS swap this. When I used to go to car meets or whatever the case may be, I've never really seen a lot, if any, LS builds out there. Now, I've seen a bunch of different cars, I've seen a bunch of different cool cars, builds, whatnot, but no one ever really does the actual LS swap. So I kind of took a liking to it. Like I said, I was helping a friend build an LS, and realizing how easy it was and how much power he could make was kind of astonishing to me. And that's where I kind of got the idea that I wanted to buy an LS. Now, there's multiple ways I can go with this. I can, you know, I have the Chevelle that I could drop it in, or there's the idea of putting it into some sort of tuner car along the lines of a 350Z or E90, you know, E92, E46, somewhere along those lines. Who knows? I might even get into something else. I mean, there's a bunch of possibilities, and honestly, that's what's great about the LS platform. Yeah, to give you a little storyline, I picked up this LS probably, you know, 5 days ago, I would say at this point. I had to completely torn down, all the internals out. I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up, punched out, decked. I'm gonna send it out to the machine shop as well as the heads that are on it. I do need to buy the pistons for it, as well as the valves and everything, so they can balance everything and make sure that, you know, I'm in good harmony.
What?
Just because, you know, while I have the time to have this thing on an engine stand, it's not in a car. I don't have a time frame of when I'm completing this build. So that's kind of the great thing about having it how it is and how I'm building it, is I can take my time, do things right the first time, so that way when I do transfer it into a car, I don't have to take it apart again. That's the goal, at least. Obviously, I know stuff happens. The dreaded second engine pull when you finally do an LS build, I know. But that's my goal, is while this thing is on the stand, you know, put all great internals in it. This is gonna be a very budget build, and that's why I picked this block up how I did. Now, I picked this block up for $300. I picked it up on OfferUp. I found a guy selling one. I kind of talked him down a little bit. When I showed up, he actually had two sitting right next to each other, as well as a couple Tahoes. One was in the driveway, one was on the street, so I'm assuming that's what it came out of. I actually didn't know when I picked it up. I meant to ask, but I hit him up the day after, and I said, hey, you know, what did you pull this out of, and why did you pull it out, most importantly? From what he said was this block, or this engine, was actually running when he pulled it out. He pulled it out of a 04 Tahoe. He said it was running, and I asked him why he pulled it out then, and he actually explained to me that he wanted to go with the bigger 6.0 and actually do some power mods to that, I don't know, in a Tahoe, right? But that's just what it was. That's why he pulled it out. I was a little bit skeptical until I started tearing it down, and I kind of realized, wow, all these internal pieces that I'm pulling out are actually pretty good, you know? No unusual wear patterns on any of the bearing surfaces, as well as the cam surfaces. The lifters were kind of stuck in the block, especially number 7 on 7 bank, which is kind of infamous on these LS Gen 3s and 4s actually. But it may have been the way that I was pulling them out. I was throwing them away anyway. I was actually gonna go buy new ones. Like I said, everything on the internals of this block, I'm buying new stuff. So I was throwing them away anyway, so it didn't really bother me. But judging on the way they came out, I definitely thought there was gonna be some crazy wear patterns on the cam, maybe even my push rods, and that scared me a little bit. But like I said, as I was taking everything out, I realized this thing could have very well been running when he pulled it out, like he said, because nothing was bad. I mean, nothing at all. I honestly don't even have too much to worry about. Like I can freshen up these pistons, throw new rings on there, probably put that cam back in there and reassemble this whole thing with new bearings, obviously, and have a completely running LS. I'm keeping the crank's fine, actually. Crank's great. I'm gonna get it polished. But everything else, yeah, I'm throwing upgraded, newer parts at, and when I have this thing complete, my goal is to run it NA for a while on whatever car I'm throwing it in. Like I said, my goal probably is to put it in some sort of BMW or 250Z, but whatever route I take with that, I'm gonna be running it NA for a while, just because, like I said, I am on a budget, so I can't do things super fast paced or just, you know, cash out on a bunch of parts. But that's just my story. That's how things are working out for me, and I'm not mad at it, because I know that by the time, you know, I get this back from the machine shop, I throw upgraded, you know, valves, cam, you know, pistons, all that stuff, and maybe even gap the piston rings correctly, that NA I'll be pushing a good number, especially in a ladder car like one of those platforms. So I'm not too worried about it. And then obviously later down the line, I am going to throw a boost at it, and that's especially why I chose to throw upgraded internals into it as well.